money, banks, and the Federal Reserve. Now, again, a warning to you as we talk about the Fed in all these next videos, that the Fed, particularly just this last March, totally changed how they do business. And what that means is that there isn't an econ textbook on the planet Earth that accurately describes what the Fed does now. And so you are going to need to put together, and there's other readings for you on your page, but what's in the book and what's in the videos and what's in the other stuff, you have to be cautious and make sure you only get the stuff that matters. All right. Now, you would think after thousands of years of using money that there would be like general agreement on money, but just like everything else in macro, there isn't. If you ask people how many functions of money are there, some people say 3, some people say 4, some people say 6. I'm just going with the basic 3. Okay? Most of the other functions of money are kind of, to me, subsumed in the other 3. So these are really, just remember these 3. Okay? The most important function of money, the one that everybody agrees on, is money is a medium of exchange. And we'll talk about that more. Adam Smith's best friend, British philosopher David Hume, said money is the wheels of trade, not the oil. Medium of exchange means I don't have to have the money. When you want a college education, you don't have to trade stuff to UNLV. You don't have to come to UNLV with a cow and see if UNLV will take the cow in trade for a college education. If you have a cow, you can sell the cow, use the money to buy your college education. Money makes things happen easier. Okay, and we'll talk about that more. But money helps things to happen more easily. Medium of exchange. Number 2, store value. That should be pretty obvious. If you have $1, and it falls between the cushions of your couch, and you pull, a year later, you're cleaning out your couch, and you find that $1, it's still $1. You can put money in the bank, you can put money in your cookie jar, and later on in the future, that money still has value. So money lets us store value. That means, you think of your debit card and your credit card, they're not money. They're a medium of exchange, but they don't in any way store value, right? So they help us out and facilitate exchanges, but they're not really money because they don't store value. The other thing that goes on here is what we call a unit of account. When your friend says, hey, you're adding up apples and oranges, you can't do that. Remind them that we do that all the time. We go to the grocery store, and you get an apple and an orange, and you go up to the counter, and you can buy them both because the apple and the orange are both valued in dollars and cents. They're valued in the same currency. So money lets us do accounting, and I know that's a terrible thing to make people have to do, but money lets us do accounting. So, money. What is money? There's a definition that some people use. I don't like it. I like to define money by the functions of money, but ignoring that, kind of the Webster's Dictionary of Money is any asset that people are generally willing to accept in exchange for goods and services or for payment of debts. So, whatever it is, something that people are willing to exchange, that works as money. So there are cultures that have used feathers, and as long as everybody takes those feathers in exchange, that works. Some asset, something of value that people are willing to exchange for debt, for payment of things, or for goods and services. So your book, for example, points out that in prisoner of war camps in World War II, all over the world, without The Red Cross gives you a package. If you're a prisoner of war, you get a package from the Red Cross every month, and it's got like toothpaste and a toothbrush and that kind of stuff. During World War II, they gave them cigarettes. They gave the prisoners of war cigarettes. The Red Cross gave the prisoners of war cigarettes. And those cigarettes, basically all over the planet Earth, became money, and economists have studied that for a long time. Okay? Assets are things of value we own. I know you probably already knew that, but that's a $5,000 bill with James Madison on it, if you missed the picture here. Yes, we used to have $5,000 bills, and yeah, even bigger ones than that. Okay. What do we have if we don't have money? How does a system operate that doesn't have money? And you should know that as recently as 150 years ago, most people in the world would go through their entire lives and never touch money. So mostly you had agricultural communities. You had people who were engaged in farming. That was the vast, vast majority. 150 years ago, probably 95% of the population of the earth were farmers. Farmers basically take care of themselves, and the stuff that they can't do themselves, they can trade for. So if you can bake beautiful croissants and somebody else has eggs, you can trade the croissants for the eggs. That's a barter system. There are problems with barter systems, okay? Problems with barter systems. And the deal is something called double coincidence. To trade, if I have croissants and I need eggs, I have to find somebody who's where I am. So that's the first coincidence. This person and I have to be in the same place at the same time. And they have to have eggs that they want to trade for a croissant. Let me say that again. There's two coincidences that have to happen here. One is I have to be in the same place at the same time with another person. And two, they have to have what I want and I have to have what they want. This is a really coincidental thing, which is why, little towns have markets, and it's one of the reasons that towns exist is because you need a kind of a central place where everybody knows that, Thursday morning, if you need to trade or you've got something to trade, everybody shows up and they all, put their blankets down and sit there in town or put their tables up and they can trade. It's a tough thing. The internet, by the way, makes this a lot easier in the modern world. Just saying. So humans invent money. Humans are smart. If you put enough humans on a deserted island, they will figure out something in the end that works as money. Human beings know that money is a useful thing, and they create it. Human beings created money not because somebody said, oh, we should have money, but because money helps us with two things. One, it helps us with information because then prices of things are listed. Imagine if you have eggs and you trade eggs for things. You have to figure out how many eggs you would trade for each different other thing. That in money because of money we have prices. We can say it's $2 or $1, or I can set a price on my egg of 50 cents. And then other people are setting prices on their things. And now the system creates all this information about how many eggs I need, to get right? And by doing all this, money lowers our transaction costs. Money makes it easier and simpler and cheaper to make transactions. Yes? David Hume, who was Adam Smith's best friend, who was one of the philosophers who had a lot to do, actually, more with micro than with macro. But anyway, David Hume, old, dead British philosopher, said, and he didn't say it quite this way. I left one "tis" in there, but, they talked funny in the old days. Money is not the wheels of trade, 'tis the oil. Money isn't the wheel. It's not the thing the cart rolls on, but it lubricates it all. It makes it roll easier. You don't need money. You can run your economy without money. It's not going to be fun. Money makes everything work more easily. It's the lubricant. It's the oil in the economic system. Old money is something called commodity money. There's an F word that goes with money and banking, which is faith. If you're going to use money, you have to trust in that money. And the easiest way for you to have trust in that money, to have faith in your money, is that the money's made of something that has value. So even if we decide in the United States to go back to using silver and gold coins and copper coins, that's because copper has value even if it's not a coin. If you melt the coin down, it still has value. Silver and gold coins, if you melt the silver down or melt the gold down, it still has value. Okay? So commodity money, the first money is going to be commodity money. It's going to be made of something of value. The reason is that who are you going to trust? Do you trust the government in, 500 AD? Maybe not, but you trust gold and silver. Okay? And it's not just gold, silver, and copper. Those are the most common ones. And what commodity money there is in the world today is going to be gold or silver or copper. But there's all kinds of stuff. Have you said to someone ever in your life, or has someone ever said to you, hey, it's $10? And you never stop to think about what that meant, right? Why in America we use the phrase bucks, a buck to mean $1. Well, in the Old West, prices of things were often labeled in bucks, meaning you went out into the woods and you shot a couple of deer. And you brought them back to the store, and you said, hey, I have $2. Okay? In the American colonies, tobacco leaves were often used as money. If you remember your American history, the Virginia planters and there were presidents and stuff, they were often what we call land poor. They owned a lot of land. They had a lot of resources, but they didn't have any money. So often what they did when they needed to pay an external debt was they would grow tobacco. They would take part of their land and grow tobacco on it, cut off the tobacco leaves, and then pay their debt using tobacco leaves. Okay? And going back into ancient times, some of the oldest accounting records that are thousands of years old, okay, use cattle. They referred to the transaction as being in cattle, cows. Okay? So anything that's an asset that has value can be used to create commodity money. We got that? Oh, and we should point out that the arguments about what we should use are an integral part not only of American history, but American pop culture. Oz, O-Z. What's the abbreviation for ounce? Yeah, that would be OZ, Oz. How do you get around Oz? Well, you follow the yellow brick road. Is that gold? Yeah, and the Tin Woodsman, if you read the book, his axe is a silver handle with a golden blade. It's silver and gold. What color is the capital of Oz? Well, it's green. And what do we call our money? Greenbacks. Okay? The Wizard of Oz is all about the Progressive Era fight over whether we should have a gold standard or what's called bimetallism, which is using both gold and silver. Right? That's what the Wizard of Oz is about. It's not about some poor Kansas farm girl who's lost in another world. It's about, should we be using just gold as our money or gold and silver? All right, what does it take to be good money? Well, good money has to be acceptable to most people, right? People have to take it. The bill over here on the right that you get to see part of is part of the national currency. It's a national banking bill from the 1800s, early 1900s. It was printed by the Colorado, wasn't printed by them, it was printed by the Treasury for the Colorado National Bank in Denver. Okay? We used to let banks print their own money. That money has less acceptability than federal money because you don't know that this note that says it was printed by a bank in Colorado is good if you happen to be living in New York. Okay? So good money has to be acceptable by most people. It has to be some kind of standardized quality so you can recognize that this is actually money. It has to be durable. Has to last. Now, paper bills don't actually last very long, but they last long enough. It's not that they disintegrate in your wallet while you're carrying them around, or if you have it in your piggy bank, a couple years, it's still in there when you're done. Should be easy to carry. Okay. Gold coins can get kind of heavy if you have a big chunk of them. It needs to be divisible. That means you need to make it into smaller and smaller pieces. So we have dollars and quarters and 50-cent pieces and dimes and nickels and pennies. And then needs to be hard to counterfeit. U.S. currency has changed. If you look at old bills versus new bills have some color in them. They have the picture's bigger. There's all kinds of stuff in current dollars. If you put a dollar, not a dollar bill, but any of the new currencies, the $5 and up, and you put them under a microscope, you'll discover, for example, that the portrait on the bill isn't drawn with lines. It's drawn by the words United States of America printed really small. So it looks like it's a line, but it's not actually a line. It's called microprinting. If you take that bill and you give it to the Treasury, one of the ways the Treasury tells that it's real is they run it through their scanner, and their scanner looks to see that microprinting is there. Okay? If you use a check, and many of you probably have never written a check in your life, but if you actually have a checkbook and you write a check, the signature line on your check will be microprinted. A lot of documents that you sign as a grown-up nowadays to prove they're official have a microprinted security line. Okay? So we do these things to make it hard to cheat, hard to counterfeit.